Welcome back to another episode of our podcast series. Today, we're embarking on an even deeper exploration of Mikhail Bulgakov's magnificent and multifaceted novel, The Master and Margarita, a work that continues to captivate and challenge readers with its intricate layers of meaning. As we journey further into this literary labyrinth, we will meticulously examine its potent symbols, enduring themes, and the chilling historical context that shaped its creation. Hello again. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to guide you through the rich tapestry of Bulgakov's masterpiece. To truly grasp the novel's profound insights, we must first immerse ourselves more fully in the oppressive atmosphere of Stalin's Soviet Union during the 1920s and 30s. Bulgakov dedicated himself to this sunlit book amidst the bleakest decades of the 20th century. This era was characterized by pervasive terror, brutal oppression, the catastrophic forced collectivization that decimated the Russian peasantry and agriculture, the horrifying expansion of corrective labor camps, the insidious infiltration of the secret police into every facet of life, the ruthless liquidation of the intelligentsia, and the devastatingly vast party purges and the orchestrated Moscow show trials. In the realm of literature, socialist realism was the ironclad dogma, mercilessly suppressing any artistic expression deemed ideologically unsound. Bulgakov himself was a direct casualty of this suffocating environment. His plays were banned, his novels remained unpublished, and his very existence as a writer was precarious. The clandestine nature of the Master and Margarita-esque creation underscores the immense danger Bulgakov faced simply for writing it. He even burned an early version out of fear. Yet, as the novel itself proclaims, manuscripts don't burn. Understanding this context allows us to see the novel not merely as entertainment but as a potent act of resistance, Bulgakov's challenge to the rule of terror in literature. Its eventual, albeit initially censored, publication in the 1960s, decades after Bulgakov's death in 1940, was a watershed moment, releasing into the Soviet consciousness an air of freedom, artistic and spiritual, which had become rare indeed, not only in Soviet Russia. The novel's razor-sharp satire of Soviet life, particularly its skewering of the literary establishment as embodied by the absurd bureaucracy of Maslov and the ill-fated Gribodov house, directly mirrors Bulgakov's own bitter experiences with censorship and the stifling control exerted over artistic expression. The comical yet deeply critical portrayals of characters like Berlioz, the dogmatic editor of an anti-religious magazine The Godless, and the officious doorman at Gribodov's, obsessed with regulations even in the face of the bizarre, serve as pointed allegories for the ideological rigidity and petty tyranny of the era. Even the seemingly surreal and weightless, circus-like theatricality that permeates the Moscow scenes and the surprising lack of pathos in response to utterly bizarre events reflect the defense mechanisms and coping strategies adopted by citizens living under a constant shadow of fear and the absurdities of totalitarian control. The unsettling dream of Nikanor Ivanovich, chairman of the Housing Association, provides a chillingly surreal yet deeply insightful depiction of the arbitrary nature and psychological manipulation employed by the secret police, eerily echoing the performative cruelty of Stalin's infamous show trials. The very notion of a foreign specialist in black magic arriving in Moscow and exposing the ridiculousness of the Soviet system can be seen as a subversive inversion of the party's claims to scientific rationality. The desperate attempts to explain Woland's seemingly impossible feats through hypnosis or trickery highlight the clash between the supernatural reality of the novel and the rigidly materialistic ideology of the Soviet regime. Now, let's delve deeper into the core themes that resonate throughout The Master and Margarita. First, the eternal struggle between good and evil is presented in a profoundly nuanced way. The novel's epigraph, Mephistopheles' self-definition from Goethe's Faust, part of that power which still protesteth good, whilst ever scheming ill, provides a crucial framework for understanding Woland, Bulgakov's Prince of Darkness. He is not a simplistic embodiment of pure evil. While he and his delightfully disruptive retinue orchestrate chaos and revel in elaborate pranks, their actions often serve as a catalyst for revealing the underlying hypocrisy, rampant greed, and pervasive cowardice within Moscow society. For instance, the chaotic séance at the Variety Theater exposes the venality and materialistic desires of the Moscow audience. The very presence of Woland, the acknowledged prince of this world, ironically affirms the existence of a spiritual realm beyond the strictly materialistic worldview promoted by the Soviet state. His departure at the end signifies not a triumph of good over evil in a traditional sense, but rather a cyclical return to a cosmic balance. Another pivotal theme is the complex interplay between faith and doubt. The opening dialogue between the staunchly atheistic Berlioz and the aspiring poet Ivan Homeless directly confronts the very existence of Jesus Christ, mirroring the Soviet Union's aggressive and systematic campaign against religion. Bulgakov's masterful insertion of the Pontius Pilate narrative provides a profoundly human and multifaceted portrayal of Jesus, Yeshua HaNatzri, and delves into profound questions of faith, doubt, the corrupting influence of power, and the nature of truth itself. Pilate's internal turmoil, his recognition of Yeshua's inherent goodness, and yet his ultimate decision driven by fear of political repercussions, stands in stark contrast to Yeshua's unwavering conviction and simple message of truth. The stark juxtaposition between the militant atheism espoused by the Moscow characters and the vivid, emotionally resonant reality of the biblical narrative underscores this central thematic tension. Bulgakov explicitly states that his Yeshua is not intended as a faithful depiction of Jesus or as a revisionist alternative to the Christ of the Gospels, though he skillfully incorporates certain details from them. Pilate's eternal torment, yearning for completion of his conversation with Yeshua, serves as a potent reminder of the enduring consequences of moral compromise. The fervent yearning for freedom and the relentless struggle against oppression is another dominant and deeply personal current coursing through the novel. The Master and Margarita stands as a powerful defense of artistic and spiritual liberty against the suffocating grip of an authoritarian regime. The iconic and frequently quoted aphorism, "Manuscripts don't burn," transcends a mere plot point, becoming a potent and enduring symbol of the indestructible power of creativity, the resilience of truth, and the ultimate triumph of the free word despite relentless censorship and suppression. The master's arduous and ultimately heartbreaking journey to bring his historically grounded yet spiritually profound novel about Pontius Pilate to light directly and painfully mirrors Bulgakov's own frustrating and ultimately devastating battles with Soviet censorship. Margarita's unwavering and passionate devotion to the master and his work is also intrinsically linked to this theme, representing a fierce commitment to artistic integrity and the preservation of creative spirit in a world determined to extinguish it. Closely intertwined with the theme of freedom is the critical examination of cowardice and courage. The novel relentlessly underscores the idea that cowardice is the most terrible of vices. Pontius Pilate's agonizing internal conflict, torn between his conscience and his fear of Caesar's displeasure, and his fateful decision to condemn Yeshua out of political expediency, stands in stark and tragic contrast to Yeshua's unwavering moral courage and his refusal to compromise his beliefs, even in the face of death. The repetition of the aphorism "cowardice is the most terrible of vices" throughout the narrative serves to emphasize its profound significance. The master's own moments of profound self-doubt, his despair leading to the burning of his manuscript, also touch upon this critical theme, highlighting the psychological toll of living under oppression. Bulgakov himself, through his satirical writing in a dangerous environment, demonstrated a significant degree of artistic courage, even as he wrestled with his own perceived compromises. The transformative power of art and imagination shines brightly throughout the novel. The master's long-suppressed novel about Pontius Pilate becomes a central and enduring force within the narrative, demonstrating the profound ability of storytelling and human imagination to transcend the limitations of time, oppressive political realities, and even death itself. Margarita's unwavering and passionate devotion to the master and his seemingly doomed work further underscores the profound significance and redemptive power of art. The intrusion of the supernatural elements, seemingly fantastical, can also be interpreted as a manifestation of the irrepressible human imagination, a realm where freedom and truth can still exist even when they are stifled in the mundane world. Woland's miraculous retrieval of the burned manuscript serves as a powerful testament to the enduring nature and ultimate triumph of true artistic creation. Finally, Bulgakov masterfully blurs the seemingly rigid boundaries of the nature of reality. The ostensibly solid and predictable world of 1930s Moscow is constantly and hilariously disrupted by the unexpected intrusion of the supernatural, most notably embodied by the arrival of Woland and his mischievous and often disruptive entourage. This deliberate and often comical blurring of the lines between the real and the unreal serves to expose the underlying absurdities, inherent contradictions, and often hidden terrors of Soviet life under Stalin. The seamless and fluid interweaving of the contemporary Moscow narrative with the ancient Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, story creates a rich and multi-layered reality where the central themes of power, faith, and courage resonate across vastly different historical epochs, suggesting their timeless and universal significance. The very language of the other world, hinted at as parable in the introduction, further complicates our understanding of what constitutes truth and reality within the novel's intricate framework. Now, let's turn our attention to some of the key symbols that richly imbue Bulgakov's narrative with deeper layers of meaning. Asterisk manuscripts and fire asterisk. As previously discussed, manuscripts transcend their physical form to symbolize creativity, truth, and the enduring legacy of art in the face of oppression. The master's despairing act of burning his novel represents the destructive power of censorship, political pressure, and personal despair. Yet, the miraculous reappearance of the manuscript powerfully reinforces the central message that manuscripts don't burn, signifying the ultimate resilience and survival of true artistic expression. Conversely, fire acts as a dual symbol, representing both the destructive force of censorship and despair, and potentially a purifying force, as suggested by the final, peaceful journey of the Master and Margarita away from Moscow. Asterisk light and darkness asterisk. The contrasting motifs of light and darkness frequently serve as symbolic representations of truth, hope, and spiritual enlightenment versus ignorance, oppression, and the forces of evil. The starkly different settings of the often chaotic and dimly lit, morally ambiguous world of Moscow and the serene, moonlit path that ultimately leads the Master and Margarita to their hard-earned peace beautifully illustrate this symbolic dichotomy. The absence of electric light at Woland's initial gathering and its sudden, almost overwhelming presence later can also be interpreted within this framework. Asterisk the moon asterisk. The full moon is a recurring and potent motif throughout the novel, frequently associated with heightened supernatural activity, moments of profound transformation, and the blurring of the boundaries between the earthly and spiritual realms. It is under the oppressive gaze of the moon that Pontius Pilate finds no respite from his guilt and torment, and it is the gentle light of the moonlit path that ultimately guides the Master and Margarita to their eternal refuge. The annual spring ball of the full moon, hosted by Woland, serves as a pivotal event where the earthly and supernatural realms collide, revealing the hidden desires and moral failings of Moscow's elite. Asterisk Woland and his retinue asterisk. As the embodiment of Satan, Woland is a multifaceted and complex symbol. He embodies evil but paradoxically acts as a catalyst for exposing the moral decay and inherent hypocrisy within Soviet society, often administering a strange form of poetic justice. His retinue, the mischievous Koraviv, the enormous talking cat Behemoth, the silent and deadly Azazello, and the alluring vampire Hela each contribute to this symbolic function, representing different facets of temptation, chaos, and the disruption of the mundane. Their often absurd and disruptive actions serve to highlight the underlying absurdities of the Soviet system itself. Asterisk Pontius Pilate and Yeshua asterisk. Pontius Pilate embodies the heavy and often corrupting burden of political power, the agonizing and ultimately tragic conflict between personal conscience and political expediency, and the enduring and inescapable repercussions of seemingly small acts of cowardice. His eternal torment, forever yearning for the completion of his interrupted conversation with Yeshua, serves as a powerful and timeless symbol of the lasting and inescapable consequences of moral failure and the abuse of power. In contrast, Yeshua Hanatsri represents unwavering moral integrity, the power of simple truth, and spiritual courage in the face of overwhelming earthly power. Brief musical interlude. In conclusion, The Master and Margarita is a literary masterpiece that transcends simple categorization. It is a profoundly layered and endlessly resonant work that masterfully employs a rich and intricate tapestry of potent symbols to explore timeless and universally relevant themes of the eternal struggle between good and evil, the complexities of faith and doubt, the indomitable human yearning for freedom in the face of brutal oppression, the crucial distinction between cowardice and courage, and the transformative and enduring power of art and imagination. All of these elements are inextricably and powerfully linked to the oppressive historical context of a repressive Soviet regime under Stalin, against which Bulgakov bravely and defiantly asserted the indomitable spirit of the human imagination and the enduring power of truth. The novel's enduring global popularity and its profound and lasting impact on Russian culture, with certain phrases like "manuscripts don't burn" becoming deeply ingrained and proverbial, speak volumes about its timeless relevance and its ultimately hopeful message about the enduring power of art and the human spirit. Thank you for joining me on this more extensive exploration of Mikhail Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita. Until our next journey, between the lines, may your own manuscripts never burn, and may you always find the courage to seek the truth.